I call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. And
Good morning.
again, thanks, everybody, for making the shift to today's date versus our traditional last Friday of the month. So that's greatly appreciated. Let me just call up my agenda so I'm working from the most recent one. So because we're all assembled, we can skip by the Zoom protocol. And judging from the hordes out there, we don't need to worry at this point about input from the public, but we will reserve time later in the meeting should a member of the public arrive, and we can provide them with an opportunity to speak. First thing to do is the approval of the agenda, which I sent around and which you folks provided input on earlier. So I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
A second?
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we will, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried, agenda is approved. Alberto prepared the minutes of our August 16 meeting, and I think everybody had an opportunity to read those, so let's start first with a motion to approve the minutes of August 16.
I will move to approve the minutes of the August 16th meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of August 16, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Minutes are approved. Oh, that brings us to continuing business. First is an update on the Doe Farm and the Land Stewardship Subcommittee. In terms of the Land Stewardship Subcommittee, the meeting they held in August featured a presentation from I think it's the Affordable Housing Working Group, or I don't
Task
remember
Force.
the formal name of that.
Yeah.
I was not able to connect in on that day, so I don't know the contents of that or any of the other discussion of that.
There's something similar that they did with the Agricultural Commission. So some members of that task force presented, some information and then solicited for inputs, from the commission members, not as commission members, but as Durham residents.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I suspect that was a similar
Yes.
way that they approached that. Anybody else have heard or seen any of that material? Okay. Thanks, Alberto. As far as the Doe Farm is concerned, a couple of pieces just to make sure we're all caught up. Sarah Callahan took the lead and managed to secure some funding from the Lamprey River folks, which essentially replaces the funds we were originally putting in for the management plan. And then in addition, the Stratford Regional Commission is putting in funds to deal with the climate change part of that. That requires our consulting forester, Charlie Marino, to, among other things, first is to redraft his proposal. And we've been playing a bit of telephone tag. He's been very busy this summer, but we've been trying to get a phone call here before I do my hospitalization thing next week. So hopefully we'll hear from him and get a new proposal that we will probably need to approve at our next meeting, but he'll continue on with that project. Yeah, I think that's the extent on the management plan. Sarah Callahan, who is our land stewardship coordinator, is no longer our land stewardship coordinator. having gotten a job with UNH Cooperative Extension, and she'll be based here in Durham, but while she's here, she's not necessarily, she won't be available to kind of bird dog some of the things that have happened on the doe farm for us. But she did report kind of as a going away present that the buckthorn foliar treatment was done, and at the time of the email that I got, let's see if I can get to the actual, if I get the dates, then we'll have a rough sense of. So the foliar spraying has been done. She said, let's see if I get a date on this. Probably the first week of September, based on her email, and the contractor will be out there in a couple of weeks to assess the success of that spraying operation. So that's the update from Sarah. So I've got nothing else on the doe farm. Are there any questions?
The search for Sarah's replacement, has that started?
I don't know. Good question. She's pretty important for us, particularly as it relates to staying on top of the invasive species problems out there. She's had a good working relationship with the contractors that do the work. So hopefully the town is working on that aspect of getting a new land stewardship coordinator. There's certainly lots of stuff to be done around the town. I know Sarah was quite busy. And hopefully there'll be somebody interested in a part-time, and it's a contracted part-time position.
There was an item in the Friday updates, I don't know if it was last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, about, Sarah's taking on the position at Extension. I don't know if that item in the Friday updates mentioned, a search. I can't quite remember.
Yes, and I don't remember, I read that article too, and I don't remember if there was a discussion about a search, but ideally that'll be underway. Maybe at some point in the future there would be a permanent town employee. There's certainly a lot of work. And as our obligations in terms of not only land that we own, but also lands on which the town has easements and things like that. And the more people that are out there using that land, the more the land needs to be looked after, and coordinating all that is an important function. So hopefully they're on top of that. Is there anything else related to land stewardship, doe farm? All right, cemetery committee.
Well, good morning. All right, out at the cemetery, things are going well. Since our last meeting, we've had 3 burials, 2 full-body burials and 1 cremains burial. We've also got a couple more ceremonies this weekend, a full and a cremains. The fence is still not repaired, but we're working on it. The cottage's management company went out and surveyed it, and it is more money than they can approve on site, so they need to bounce it up to headquarters, I guess. And they need to do some tree removal work back there before they can get back to the fence. So that means that the fence is not yet done, but I'm in regular touch with the manager out there. And I'm sure it's not their top priority, but they're working on it. But that also means that, the town can't get in and replace the compost bin and the trash bin out there until all that work is done, because the cottage's people need access to that side of the fence to replace it. So not much has happened. We're working on it, but nothing has actually gotten done. And that is the state of the cemetery.
All right. I have this was in the mailbox, I'm not sure. It's a deed,
Oh, yep.
so that goes that way. And do we have more of those to sign?
We have more of these to sign at the end of the meeting.
At the end of the
yes.
meeting, we will sign those. Okay. Expenditure request. We have one. Finally. And we'll go through the signature process here in just a minute. This is from the, looks like the Oyster River School District, and the monies are coming from the expendable scholarships funds. There's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 separate scholarship funds. And they're taking about $9,000. And it looks like there's 7, they don't list the names of the students, but there are essentially 7 students. So 1 scholarship is being awarded to 3, or there's 3 awards within 1 scholarship category. But other than that, it all looks pretty straightforward. Deb has done all the ins and outs of, oh, I had one. And so we should, I suppose you should look at it before you sign it. I think that's the proper thing, as opposed to just blindly signing it. And so there's essentially 2 copies of that.
So do you want to sign first, or?
Nope, I don't think there's any particular order that we need to use for signing it. I think if everybody just gets it done. Okay. And today is the 20th.
20th.
Correct.
Ideally, they match, right?
Yes, but,
You never know.
yeah, well, they actually don't, because that document you have in your hand is a 2-sided document in this one.
This is the one side.
And so I was reading the additional information here.
Yeah, so one of those is missing.
Yeah, so I want to decide how important that is, but.
It is, let's see, this is okay, so that little extra thing is from Deb Alstrom, indicating that the funds are not sufficient to cover the Murdoch Awards, and they're being held pending updates from the Cambridge Trust, and the variance has been, okay, there was some issues
Yeah.
related to that, so,
I think 11,000 was initially requested, but we're awarding only 9,000 because of that.
right, okay. So there's that, I'll give that to Deb. By way of information, we also received from the Oyster River Cooperative School District a letter apparently in July, in which they'd like to withdraw $2,500 from a high school scholarship trust fund related to the My Pathways Trust. And so and there are 3 award winners for that scholarship. I will pass that to Deb to work up the appropriate form, and we can do that at our next meeting. And that came from Tim Gelling, who I think is no longer at the school district. At least his name is not listed among the school district staff. So I just sent an email this morning having opened this letter to the Assistant Director of Finance in here to at least acknowledge that, yes, we did receive the letter, and yes, we are working on it. And if that person has any questions, I trust that they will reach out to me. So I think that's all we had for expenditure requests at this point. Monthly MS9. Did you all get the spreadsheets and wander through those? I don't think we have. My read of those spreadsheets were, we have changes in value and we earned a little income, but we didn't spend any money in August. At least we didn't sign any paperwork to spend any money. So our net positions probably moved up a little bit.
An excellent summary.
It was an excellent summer, and it's been with a few ups and downs along the way. And then September started off ugly, and we had that bigger interest rate move than I think a lot of people anticipated. I think if we had had our Cambridge people sitting out here, they would have said 1/4 of a point. I think that's
I think
what
they might
argued.
actually have said that
Yeah.
last time.
And August would have been, when we heard from them in August, they were talking 1/4 point. So 1/2 point was a bigger move than I expected. I'm just wondering whether they have in mind, well, we're going to move it down to this number by the end of the year, or by, I guess it's every 9, 11, so November's the next move, January's the next move after that. But fairly soon, I think they have an idea, well, we ought to move it from where it is to here, and it really doesn't matter if we go 1/2 point now, and then 1/2 point later, and 1/4, or we start 1/4 and then go 1/2 and 1/2. If your end point 4 months from now is the same, maybe rather than being a little late to the party as they were on the increases, they're trying not to be late to the party on the decreases. That would be my take.
I think the important point is that they don't scare the hell out of people.
The psychology of it is really what's important.
Yeah, I mean, 1/2 point, I think, would have been good for a half hour from these guys, from the Cambridge Trust guys.
By the way, at the last meeting, Will Fleming reminded us that they need I guess a list of official signers
Yes.
from the town.
Yeah, and I should send this. There's, I think, 3 things that they need. And one, I think they need photo ID from each of you, each of us,
Yeah.
so that they can, so a scan of your license, I suppose, would work. Just to make sure they've got the right authorization to send stuff to us. What was the other thing you mentioned?
The list of official signees.
The list of
Yeah.
official signers.
Signers, excuse me.
Signers,
Yeah.
which would be all of us, with Victor acting as alternate. So that's a letter that I need to prepare.
Yeah.
And Will also sent me a draft of a letter that the trustees had signed some years ago that basically recognized that some of the income is managed. It's not just left in a interest-bearing expenditure. Now, it's not put in the checking account, in effect, it's invested, and that's done in practice, but the MS9 that we get reflect the actual allocations, so it will show, some of that income will show up in it'll still show up in the income pile, but in reality, in terms of the way it's managed, some of it is stuck over into the principal pile and earning some money. And in the conversations, they may have mentioned it in the August meeting, but certainly in the prior meeting, I know they mentioned that they're trying to unwind that. It's particularly as interest rates come down, it doesn't make, the whole reason behind it was, well, we had low interest rates over here, so let's put it over here and make a little money. But as interest rates come down, that practice makes less sense. And it is actually somewhat confusing for their money managers. So we did prepare a letter acknowledging that that's what they had done. And that letter was before I was on the trustees. And Will would just like another version of that letter to kind of keep everybody covered as they unwind that. So I'll try to get that put together for our next meeting.
So I sent Will my photo ID, and he also requested that I fill out a W-9 form, so, you know.
I got the same request.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I forgot about the W-9. Yeah, that's odd, W-9. They're not going to pay us. That's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, it's a regulation. And so, okay, fine. So I guess as reminders, we should do that.
Done.
Has anybody done that?
Yep.
Oh, good for you, Victor. Oh, I know what's messed me up. My scanner stopped working. My printer just stopped. First the scanner part stopped, now the printer part stopped. And when I go to reset the thing, it says, oh, you need a driver. Okay, it says I got the driver, but then they can't find the driver. So it sounds like a call to the campus IT people, say, how do I fix this, or do I have to go out and spend money and buy a new printer? Which, fine, it's not that they're expensive, but I don't really want to do it. So, so that's the MS9 stuff for today. Is there any additional comments? So we have done our due diligence in examining those things. Anything else that the trustees need to fuss with this morning?
I have an item, you know, a relatively small one, but the town website information on the trustees of the trust funds, it needs to be updated because it still lists Mike as the chair, and my name and Victor's name, I think, have to be added.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we have to initiate a request to, you know,
All right. I
to
should
have that update, you know, done.
So what I'll do is I'll send myself a note. Yeah, I gotta be careful when I type in Ted, I get Ted Kirkpatrick.
Do you have access to the back end of the website?
I might,
Yeah.
but
I can make changes to the cemetery section. I'm not sure I have access to all of the trustees, but if I do, I'd be happy to make those changes.
okay. That might be fine. My general feeling is, I don't want to mess that thing up, so I'm gonna turn it over to somebody that knows what they're doing. And if that somebody who knows what they're doing is Tom Bibbington, then that's great.
Fair enough. Well, let me know how you make out. I
Okay.
could probably help.
Yeah, I'll take a look at what needs to be done. If it's a simple thing, what we've done in the past, I've just sent a note to Karen Edwards. She posts the agenda, she posts them, so I know she has access. So, all right, but good point. Yeah. And we finally did get the names on the expenditure things updated. That was a long time coming. and we appreciate that. Is there anything else? There are no members of the public. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Oh, and our next meeting will be the last day
Last
of,
Friday of October.
whichever,
Double check.
we'll
The
just check to
27th,
see
I
what that
believe.
is.
27.
The last one is the 25th?
25th, yeah, it says 27th on the agenda, but that must have
Yeah,
been.
so it should be the 25th. So there's a mistake on our agenda, which we will not worry about correcting at this point, but we will set our meeting next time for the 25th. I wonder why I put the 27th. Oh, because I looked at the Friday. Okay. And as a reminder, the town has